Smart rings have seemingly blown up in popularity what feels like overnight. They are everywhere, and there's tons of companies popping up creating this new category of tracking device. I've been wearing one for almost a year now. This is the Ultrahuman Ring Air, and after wearing it for so long and really getting to live with it, my opinions on smart rings are completely different than when I first got this in. But I still like it a lot. I think it has its place. Now, I've been kind of on this journey of trying to optimize different areas of my life. So, like getting my house in order, getting the car in order, making sure everything is just running as it should. And while my health is obviously a big part of that. And especially now as I'm on an actual routine and have been for, the last 6 months where I'm tracking what I'm eating, I'm going to the gym multiple times a week, I'm doing what I think I should be. Well, now I have a tracker that can actually help, quantify if what I'm doing is actually working. And that's kind of what I was hoping this ring would do. And well, I think it actually does that very well, but it does it in a way that I was not expecting at all. Because for me, what I was really hoping for was a situation where I did not have to wear my Apple Watch anymore. Because honestly, in the last few months, I just haven't been wearing it as much as I used to. It used to be an every single day thing. I would slap it on in the morning, use it throughout the day, charge it overnight, and repeat that process every day. That has not really been the case anymore. Half the time, I don't even put it on. And when I'm going out, if I forget, I honestly don't really care. And so I was hoping that this ring would basically supplement that. So if I wasn't wearing my Apple Watch and being able to track all my health statistics with this, that I'd just be able to do it with the ring. And for the most part, kind of does actually work. So I'm going to break this down in a few different ways. First, Ultrahuman reached out and asked if I wanted to check out this ring. And back when they did, I was very intrigued on what this thing could actually do because it's so small. It doesn't have that much technology packed into it. So I was wondering, is it really going to do anything for me? So I decided to give it a shot. And when you do, it's a very great process from Ultrahuman. They give you a sizing kit so you can figure out exactly which ring you want. You can choose the different look of the ring. They just came out with like a super premium one, which is not what I have. I have the titanium version, which I like a lot. And after choosing my size and everything, I ordered the ring, and well, here we have it. And everything was as expected. I haven't had any issues with, functionality. It hasn't broken. It's worked this entire time. So that is good. So this can track your sleep, which is one of my favorite features. It can track your heart rate variability. It can track your temperature. It can track your movement, and it can give you daily tips and tricks on, how to better optimize your health. And it does that all very well. And with that data, it's able to basically give you a general overview of how your health is doing in certain areas like sleep, like movement, like stress. Because of that data, well, you're able to just keep track of your general overview of health. And that is the main thing I realized after wearing this for quite a while. It's that this is much more of a passive tracker. Unlike something like the Apple Watch, where this is a bit more active. This is something I go into specifically for the activity I'm doing. So when I go to the gym and I'm doing strength training, I activate strength training. If I'm going for a bike ride or going for a hike, I activate those particular things. I see all my data in real time. That is what it's for. Whereas the ring is for when I'm living life and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. Rather, this is how I can track the rest of my life. And that idea of just kind of tracking your entire life, that's where the ring really started to make a lot of sense to me. Because when I was trying to use it as a replacement to my Apple Watch, it just wasn't doing that. Because honestly, that's not what it's for. But when I shift my perspective and started using it, well, this thing actually does exactly what I was hoping it would do, just in a slightly different way. For me, there's really 3 areas I'm concerned with when it comes to tracking my health. First is sleep. That one is one that has become more and more important as I get older, and being able to, optimize sleep, I think is super valuable. And having a tracker that just lets you know what's going on in your sleep, well, that definitely helps a lot. The other time I use a health tracker is when I'm at the gym and I'm, tracking what I'm doing there. So if I'm lifting weights, doing cardio, all of that stuff, having a tracker that can track my calories, track my movement, just giving me a better idea of how much effort I'm actually exerting so that, I can just keep track of that. Super helpful. And then the other time I do health tracking is for the non-exercise exercise, if that makes sense. So for me, that looks like going out hiking in the summers or going out in the snow in the winters, just things that, I'm exerting energy, but it's not exactly exercise. exercise. I'd like to know, how far I've gone, what I'm doing in that time. And so having fitness tracking during those, they really come in handy. Now, I maybe naively thought that the Ring would be able to cover all of those bases. And in a certain way, that is true. You could use this as your singular fitness tracker if you wanted. But after using it for this long, that's not what I use it for at all. I'd have to say that if you're really caring about what you're doing, like in the gym, for instance, if you're lifting weights, if you're doing cardio, I don't know that this is the best, or at least I would say that I wouldn't recommend this as the first choice for certain activities. So if you're like a gym rat, you're doing that all day, you're lifting weights, I don't know that this is going to help you all that much. Plus, it's kind of uncomfortable to wear if you're lifting weights. Whereas I can track a lot better on my Apple Watch. It gives me more information. I can, dedicate a certain exercise to what I'm doing at that moment. I just feel like the data is more tailored to that type of activity. And again, that's not to say that this can't track those types of things. It just wouldn't be my first option. But that being said, after using it for this long, there are a few things that this excels at, and it would absolutely be my first option. And that's why I continue to wear it. For me, the main thing I use this Ring for now is for sleep tracking. Sleep tracking is one of those things I've gotten much more interested in recently. And this, I think, does that tracking extremely well for a few different reasons. First is that, well, it's just easy to wear. It's a ring, so it's not super uncomfortable, and you kind of forget that you are wearing it. Rather than wearing something like a watch, which I have done in the past, this is much more noticeable than this. And because of that, well, I'm actually more likely to wear it, which means it will actually do the tracking, which is the most important part. And it tracks and gives me data on what I actually care about. And it does that all thanks to the app, which I think is actually one of my favorite parts about this whole system. The app, I think, is pretty great. Now, I mentioned that I'm trying to get different areas of my home in order. Health is one of them, but also just getting my actual home in order is super important. Now that it's spring and, it's time for spring cleaning, that's where this video is sponsored. Yuthi and their E18 robot lawnmower comes in handy. And if you've ever needed to maintain your yard, you know that this can take hours every single week. And one of the biggest things that you want to stay on top of is mowing your lawn so that it looks nice, that the grass is healthy, and well, that can take a long time. And that's exactly what Yuthi is trying to fix here with their robot lawnmower. It's exactly in the name. It is a lawnmower that does it for you. Now, this isn't an entirely new concept, but Yuthi has taken this to the next level because this is the world's first ready-to-use out-of-the-box robot lawnmower. And that means a few things. First is that when you want to guide where the robot lawnmower needs to go, you don't need any wires or any cables that you have to bury in the ground. That is all done for you. But I think even more importantly for the ease of use is that there is no RTK needed. RTK was the positioning system that many of these different devices would use. And well, they work, but they need a clear line of sight and they can often lose signal. This doesn't even need that. It uses its VFSD system developed by Yuthi to navigate your lawn without any need for that. And with that smart capability comes a few different things. First is that this has hands-free mapping, so it can map the area without you really having to do anything. And once it's up and running, which really only takes about 5 minutes, it has obstacle avoidance, so wherever it is going in your yard, it can detect what it's seeing and, navigate around it. So if there's a big tree or if the kids left out a soccer ball, anything like that, it can detect it and navigate accordingly. And so that means you're going to get an excellent and precise mow every single time. This also does a great job at mowing the edges, so around the perimeter, and it'll do that last and go around in every area so that it gets 100% coverage. It really works out well, and it can do this in different terrain and slopes. So if you've got some rocky areas or if you have a steep incline, it's able to handle that. And to control all of this, of course, there is an app where you can set different zones. It can actually handle multiple lawns if you have that. You can set different schedules. You can adjust the height of the cut. So if you want a particular height on your lawn, it can handle that no problem. I mentioned that this is hands-free, and it really means it. It will start mowing and stop mowing all on its own. So when it's finished with its job, it can automatically find its way back to the base station. And it can detect if it's going to rain or if it is raining, and if that happens, it will return to the base station as well. And it will also do this if it gets too dark so that you know that it is parked at the base station. Plus, it has 4G GPS built in. And this is what you need for anti-theft. Because this is going to be sitting in your yard, you want to make sure you always know it is actually where it's supposed to be. So if it ever does get taken for whatever reason, well, you're going to be able to track it right in the app with no issues. And all of that makes this
extremely easy to use. So once it is up and running, you have worry-free, precise lawn maintenance that keeps your grass looking good pretty much all the time. So if you want to check this out and pick one up for yourself, which I highly suggest you do, it really is a game changer. I will leave links down below in the description so you can see the best price and everything Yuthi has to offer. But yeah, check it out. Not having to mow your lawn anymore really kind of is a game changer.
Now, where I think this really shines is not actually the hardware. I mean, the hardware is great, but I think it's actually the app. I really enjoy what the app gives you. When you open it up, it's laid out pretty simply, and it gives you a score for basically every category. So right up top, you got sleep, you get recovery, you get your stress rating, and then you get your movement rating, so how much you've done for the day. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, that's where you can see like all the individual stats if you just want to get to the raw data. But I really like this scoring system because at a glance, you can see like, hey, where am I landing on, these different categories? Am I getting good movement? Did I sleep well last night? I really just like this glanceable information. And not only that, it'll give you, suggestions or give you little prompts based on what your score is. So for instance, here, I got a sleep score of 82 and I slept more than I normally did. So I was in the green here. And it says here that, hey, you spent your optimal time sleeping. So I got a good amount of sleep. And not only that, I can see that I got 5 full cycles of sleep and that I slept for a total of 7 hours and 15 or 14 minutes. And so at a glance, I can just kind of get an idea of, hey, where am I at with this particular, segment that I am tracking. But if I do want more data, that's when I can dive in. I just tap on it and I get much more, granular information here. I can get scores on things like my, sleep efficiency, my consistency, my heart rate drop, if that's in a good range. And I can see which different sleep stages I was in and when I was in those. And I can see different times throughout the night when I was in those stages, whether I woke up or when I was sleeping. And you can do this for all of the different segments that are tracked here. So I really like the way this is laid out. I think it gives you good information, but most importantly, it's easy to just glance at and see where I am at, which is really what I'm looking for. I'm not like a professional athlete here. I'm not trying to dive in deep. I'm just trying to see, hey, am I on the right track? Did I get a good night's sleep last night? If I didn't, what could I do about that? And this app just kind of gives you all of that information. And for example, if I go to this day, we can see that here, my sleep was less optimal and I only got 2 full cycles. I only slept for 6 hours. I got a score of 69. And so when I see that score, I can correlate it with how I'm feeling and see, hey, does this match up? Is it actually helping me? And I have to say that, yes, it actually does seem to work. What the score is in the app correlates with what actually happened in real life. And I think that's really helpful. It just gives me more data on what I'm feeling and kind of justifies it a little bit more. I really enjoy using this. Now, thinking back, there was one day where I remember, hey, this thing actually works and it's actually maybe worth wearing. And that's because a few months ago, I was kind of, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling that great. I just felt off. I was wondering, hey, am I getting sick? I don't know. I didn't have a fever. I didn't even have chills, or I didn't really have anything. I just felt off. You know that feeling when you could tell maybe you're getting sick, but you're not quite there yet. That's just how I felt. But it was really on the border. I really couldn't tell if I was just tired or, something else was going on. It didn't feel like I was sick. It just felt like, I don't know, I just felt off. But that night I wore the ring as usual. And when I woke up, I saw that my temperature was in fact out of range. And that just, confirmed my suspicions. I was feeling weird. I was not sure what was going on. And well, that told me that, hey, there was something going on. And in fact, the next day I felt, actually sick. That's when all the symptoms hit. So I got about a day's notice that, hey, something's up, something's out of whack. And well, it was true. It was correct. And after that moment, I realized, hey, this thing is probably actually worth wearing. And, since then, it's just been a nice tool to have that I can look back on my data and see, hey, am I tracking in the right direction that I want to be? Am I, getting the sleep that I want? And that's why I continue to wear it. I really enjoy this thing. Now, should you buy one? Well, if you are in the market for a smart ring, I do think Ultrahuman has a pretty great offering here. There's a bunch of different companies that have come out with these, and I think this is a good middle ground when it comes to price, features, and functionality. They have been pretty great. They have good support that you can contact and get, in contact with a real person. The product itself is really high quality. So from that standpoint, I do like this particular version. But like with all these trackers, whether it's a ring, a watch, or whatever else, you really just have to decide, like, do I actually care about tracking this data? What am I going to do with it? What is the point for doing it? Do I just want to keep track and see what's going on, or do I have a bigger goal? Because if you do have that goal in mind, whatever it might be, that's where you can decide, hey, should I buy a ring, or should I buy a watch? watch of some sort. That's the most important thing. Figure out what you need this for, and if you want that sleep tracking, if you want that general health overview that gives you ideas of how to optimize what you are doing in the mornings, at evenings, just to feel better and just, push yourself in the right direction, well, that's where I think something like this can really come in handy. And I'll have links down below if you want to pick one up. There's a little bit of a discount there if you want to check it out. But yeah, the smart ring was something I wasn't quite sure about at first. I wasn't sure what I was going to use it for, but after using it for quite a few months, this thing's going to stay on my hand.